Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and then the Democrat. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very special night indeed, because on this particular evening, on this particular session of this wonderful program, not only do we have Mrs. Biggs watching from her lovely abode on live stream and Ustream, but we also have our lovely bouncer, Mary Brockman, who's in the ExceptionalConservativeshow.com page. Glad to have you there. Love you. Smooches to you. And for all of those who are listening around the world, especially our Facebook listeners, thank you so much. But this is a very special night because this is the newest edition of New Day Black and Red. We're going to be doing that in the 9 o'clock hour here with the great one himself. I sit at his feet and I spit shine his boots while he exclaims with great glory the pontifications of constitutional study. So there you go. None other than the great one himself. Dr. Michael Jones will be with us, and we are very appreciative of the fact that he is with us. The underground professor that he is. Ladies and gentlemen, while I busy myself finding what we need to get started, because we can't get started on our program without this particular one thing. You know what it is, and we do it every time we open the show, at least every time that, well, sometimes we miss, but just in case, I want to let you all know that we will be doing the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And so, take off your hats, prepare yourself for the great Pledge of Allegiance, and we will, as our computer ferries itself through its many paces, we will play. Tell you, you just gotta love it. That's all you can do. You just gotta love it, because if you didn't love it, you wouldn't be live radio. Do it ourselves. Hey, here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There we are. There you go. No sense waiting, people. No sense waiting. You gotta get, when the ship is ready to roll, you gotta roll with the ship. That's just bottom line. So let us call the great one himself. He is on the air live right now for his own program, and of course I benefit greatly from being able to talk to his ever increasing audience. What a wonderful day in the neighborhood today has been, especially if you happen to be a rhino. Boy, you have something to agree with the President of the United States.
Blog Talk Radio.
There we got called.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold and you will be able to listen to the show.
I really don't want to.
Internet. You know what? I don't want to know how the hell other countries suffer. That's just
you are now in the
problems. They should be more like America.
We have to listen to the underground professor.
If they want to,
right now.
The corruption in your government. Get honest people in there. Change your constitution to something that is more equitable and capitalistic, and then you'll see a rebirth of your country. You'll see wealth like you've never known it, and we won't have to feed you or clothe you or protect you like we have to.
There you go. In a nutshell.
Going, face. I'm muted.
There you go.
Just the rotund one?
New Day Black and Red is live and rolling from Philadelphia, PA. Glad to have.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. We know we're broadcasting from Washington, D.C. and from Fort Worth, Texas, but by golly, we're in the lovely city, the city of brotherly love, none other than Philadelphia, PA. And we are being produced by the loving, the caring, the benevolent, the affable, just the most wonderful. Hold up. Just the most wonderful dictator on the face of the earth, Rick Trader. So there we go. So we're taking all the rounds, and we're on Conservative Commandos Radio Network right now, even as we speak to you. So it's a great pleasure to have you back on the air with me, Professor.
Yes, but you make it sound like that was my fault.
Oh, I know how you begged me to be on this program.
You know, I know you never listen to my shows, but because you were afraid I'd just correct you on that. But I can't even listen to your show anymore. I don't even know how.
Well, let me explain to everyone. I have moved. I'm explaining. I am explaining. And you all know New Day Black and Red, we give a constitutional and a Christian background for world events, current events that are going on. But I have moved away from the pastime of Blog Talk Radio. I am now on Ustream, at the Ustream channel Ken McClinton, and you can come directly there and listen to me pontificate on world affairs and local affairs Monday through Thursday, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. It is also rebroadcast on SHR Media, so I'm very pleased with that, and also on Pundit Press. And also on Fridays, of course, we do New Day Black and Red live out of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, PA.
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday. That's what I said. Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, 5 p.m.
Friday's that little religious thing you do.
No, I moved from Friday to Sunday at 7 a.m. and American Conservatives' Exploration of the Inspired Word of God. So I know it's hard to keep up with me, but like the Jews, I have one day off and it happens to be Friday. So there you go.
Well, at least you got the Sabbath.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Speaking of Ustream, Mandy Sue is really good at that.
Really?
Yeah, she streams everywhere.
The lovely professor has 5 dogs, and he adopts a dog every time he goes out. And Mandy is the new one?
Yeah, Mandy Sue.
Mandy Sue. Wow. Beautiful,
blind
beautiful
pug.
And that's
she's
why
blind, but she's fantastic, yeah.
And she thinks you're handsome.
Yes, she has just enough sight that if you're right up next to her, she can see movement and light, and she kind of freaks out about the beard. She can't figure out what's going on with the beard, but she doesn't have much more sight than that.
Well, speaking of beard, there's something that we share in terms of a alumni, and it's coming. No, not the unpleasant blind guy. No, we don't share him as an alumni, and no, we don't share Holger either as an alumnus in this regard. But both of us.
Before you go on, Ken,
yeah.
I just want you to know. You know how much I give Holger a hard time.
Yes.
He just put into the chat room. I wonder if we can get Barry Manilow to do a new version of Mandy Sue. So, everybody thinks I'm kidding and teasing him about his Manilow obsession, but here it is. He did it.
He did it. Barry Manilow, Mandy Sue. Oh, wow. Wow. Go ahead, Holger. You know, Barry Manilow recently married. Just want to let you know that.
Yeah, was it to Barney Frank?
Close enough. His cousin. Anyway, this we they say it's genetic, so you know, hey, who knows? Besides science, it says it isn't. And that's settled science too for those following along at home. Ladies and gentlemen, the professor and I have served our time on the throne rooms. Well, scratch that. on the chairs of various sites as St. Nicholas's. And we're coming up on that time of the year again, speaking of your beard. And I want to read this PSA here, given to us by our lovable and affable producer, who is not at all a belligerent, but is certainly a benevolent dictator, Rick Trader. But Stockings for Soldiers. Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated was founded to help improve the morale and welfare of members of the armed forces of the United States of America deployed in harm's way. We accomplish our mission by sewing holiday stockings and filling them with special items for the troops. Many of the stockings that we send are for a specific person with their name on the stocking. For many troops, our gift is all they receive for the holidays. We are trying to send a touch of home as well as personal messages of support to remind our troops that we appreciate all they do for us and to let them know that they have not been forgotten over the holidays. We depend on the generosity of others to help us to accomplish our vital mission. Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. As such, donations are deductible to the extent allowed by law. Please consult your tax professional for more information. If you would like to make a donation, and we encourage that you do, not because we happen to be from the alumni of the St. Nicholas Foundation for the North Pole, but certainly because these are soldiers and they are our soldiers. They are men and women. So we encourage you to make a donation. You can send your check to Stockings for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated. Stockings for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated is at 1911 Falk Road, F-O-U-L-K Road, Wilmington, Delaware, 19810. 19810. They thank you for your assistance. Stockings for Soldiers is a tax-free organization, and their tax ID number is available upon request. But if you would, just find some time, send a donation. It could be your Chuck E. Cheese dinner for the night. I mean, who knows? But whatever it is, just send a simple donation to help our men and women overseas. And Professor, what was it like when you received something from overseas besides a bill from Kmart?
Well, you're going to find this funny. At Desert Shield, it was Christmas time, in December of Desert Shield, and they would take these dump trucks and back them up and dump out parcels that were sent from people from America. And we would go through it, and we would open them up, and you remember how big Game Boys were back in the 80s?
Yeah.
90s?
Yeah.
Well, we would open up boxes and find Game Boys and just kind of toss them behind us. Toss them away. Because, there were so many of those around, we didn't need them. But what we were fighting over, and we would get in fights over, would be the toilet paper and facial tissue and Kleenex and Q-tips and nail clippers, things like that. That's what we wanted. Mm-hmm. And those were the things that we celebrated. But you know what? It didn't matter what people sent. We were grateful.
Yeah.
Just to be thought of, because you're not over there, and it's very lonely. Even when you're with all your fellow soldiers or airmen or whoever whatever branch you're serving in, you're with your mates, and but you're still alone because it's not your blood, it's not your family back home. It's not what you normally do. None of your traditions that you get to do. And then if you're like in the Middle East, you have extra problems of having Christmas services or Christmas trees because the Middle Easterners don't like it. The tolerant, peace-loving Muslims get very violent and angry if they find a cross or a Christmas tree or anything that is, has to do with Christmas.
Yes.
And so it's hard to enjoy that holiday over in the Middle East.
Exactly. It really is.
But it's nice to get stuff. I'll tell you what, it really spikes the morale. To get something. Now they're extra careful nowadays about sending stuff to the troops because there's so many wackadoodles out there. Like that lady in Fort Worth who is a widow for one of our Fort Worth cops was killed. And some dirtbag actually sent her one of those, Black Lives Matter letters.
Wow.
And they're standing, So,
wow.
And so, they completely denigrated her husband's service. And so these organizations that send stuff to the GIs out there, we offered to sponsor one, and I was going to have people sponsor them, give money, get stuff and send it to us, and then we were going to, pick a platoon that they had, and we were going to become their sponsor and send them stuff for all the holidays and letters and cards. But they won't do that anymore because so many soldiers over there get letters from the wackadoodle left about being baby killers or, government hacks for the Republican Party, or, they bring the politics into it.
Yeah.
Where our GIs over there aren't there because of the politics. Even though the military's purpose is to break things and kill people for our government.
Mm-hmm.
To extend to physical force the political will of our country.
Exactly. You know the unfortunate thing, and you're listening to New Day Black and Red on WNJC 1360 AM, right in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as we broadcast on Conservative Commandos radio network throughout the internet world on SHR Media and other sites. And we thank you all, Roar Radio. Thank you so much for all of you all tuning in and listening to us around the world. We are preparing, since we're talking about Christmas, and it's not even the celebration of All Saints Day yet, or the day before that, which other people celebrate. Do you feel that maybe in our consumer-driven economy, where economists say, about 75% of economists are saying that we're not going to have greater growth than maybe 2% GDP in the fourth quarter, which is riveting since the bottom line is that we've had a very weak recovery to begin with and seemingly moving into a recession. Do you think we're moving too fast to celebrate and to promote Christmas? We haven't gotten to Thanksgiving, right?
We haven't got to Halloween yet, and they have Christmas in these stores. But I think what we're seeing is an act of desperation because, Christmas time, the time between, November, December, those 2 months, most stores make about 75% of their income.
Yeah.
And this is what keeps them open the rest of the year. I also think that we are in a depression, that we're not in a recovery, and that we have not, had a recovery. But in fact, we have had a depression, but there's no way we're going to call this president's economy a depression, no matter how bad it is.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, there's no way they would ever call Barack Obama's economy a depression.
Mm-hmm.
You can barely even get them to say it was a recession, and when they do, they tell you that it was because of George Bush.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And they disregard the fact that usually after 2 years it fixes itself. If the government absolutely did nothing, it would fix itself. But this government did everything wrong and forced it to be even worse. And every one of its policies are counter-capitalist and counter-economy and counter-worker.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you say you're for the little guy and the worker and stuff, and you're pro-union, then that's all you need. The facts and reality need not apply. This could be seen as an act of desperation to stimulate the economy by forcing people to go out shopping. Roosevelt did that, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
He moved Thanksgiving holiday so that we could have more shopping days, right?
Exactly. Exactly. There's nothing like a socialist controlling the wheels of the economy. Nothing at all. They will bastardize whatever possibility they could to create the illusion that things are better off than what they really are. We are in a downward spiral. And I want to talk with you tonight about Social Security. And I want to give a biblical oversight of that. Not a sermon, just a message. But earlier today, as reported by Breitbart, and I'll read this to you, a story written by voting by. It was written by Alex Swaryer, all those years of speech therapy. There it is. October 27, 2015.
You know English, right?
Yeah, I do. Amazingly.
ESL, though. It's an ESL degree, right?
Yeah, I wrote it myself. I use Crayola.
Yeah. English is a second language?
Actually, third. Ebonics is my first language. So,
and Yobonics is your second?
That's right. You know, I've been saying, yo, what's up like that? You know what I'm saying?
Come on, rerun. Get to the point.
Okay, point is, Representative Paul Ryan from the great cheese state of Wisconsin, the Republican who is about to become Speaker of the House, thanks to the wilting Freedom Caucus, says that the 2-year agreement that was made on the down low in the U.S. House under the auspices of the current Speaker, John Boehner, and with the President of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama, that he thinks that the proposed budget stinks, but he did not say he will not vote against it. And so I want to talk with you about the concept here that part of the proposal is that they take money from, because Social Security is divided into two portions. One is for old age and retiring. The other is for disability. They're going to take money from the old age portion of it to prop up the disability portion, which is racing steadfastly to bankruptcy in the next 2 years. And overall, probably by the 2020, there's nothing left in the bank at all for Social Security, including the reserves. I want to ask you, first and foremost, is there a constitutional basis for Social Security? And then secondly, how is it that we're able to fund welfare, food stamps, and all these other things, but we can't give grandma an extra 3% raise this year in Social Security?
Wow, well, you just asked me a whole bunch of stuff there.
That should fill up 50 minutes.
First off, I'll go to the easy ones first. There is no constitutional authority. In fact, I would tell you that it's not constitutional for them to do all these things, to force us. Now, they did the same trick with Obamacare to get Social Security passed, talking about taxes and fees and what was what, and this was voluntary, but everybody had to do it and whatnot. It's all a Ponzi scheme. And then there's no money in it. It's not pay as you go, sadly. It doesn't fund anything. So when you put money in, your money's not there when you retire. It's somebody else's money. So you need new people constantly coming into the system and paying money so that when you retire, you'll be able to get their money. So these people got to go to work so that you can retire. And that's not an investment scheme. That's a Ponzi scheme by any definition. So it's not constitutional. It's not even legal. And if you and I decided to set up a Social Security program for the employees of our great networks, we'd go to jail, sir. We'd go to jail.
So are you pushing? Are you pointing to the fact that we had that conversation earlier today, and that we were going to do what Barry Madoff did? No, I'm sorry. Just kidding.
Yeah. and no, I won't pull your thing, but that's okay. Now, why can't we give 3% to grandma? Well, you know how many people are in Social Security? That would bankrupt the country.
Wow.
We can't afford it, especially when we're pretending that there is no inflation because we've changed the way we measure inflation. It's not measured the same way it was under George Bush or predecessing presidents. It's been all revised because they had to revise it because the economy sucks. And they would be giving out huge amounts of increases every quarter in COLAs if they were to measure it accurately. Now, the funny thing here is you got to ask, where are Social Security voters? Most of them vote Democrat, right?
Yeah.
Most of them are fixed incomes. Most of them are elderly, and they vote Democrat. So because that's a Democrat issue, Republicans are always trying to do scary things like make it solvent and maybe even privatize it for those who want to privatize. Not forcing everybody into it, but that's scary, and no one wants other people to do better than you by taking a risk. So they don't want any fixes to Social Security. And they get a lot of other lies that they buy into. Well, let me go a little further. Who do you think is in Social Security disability? Now, most people in Social Security disability aren't disabled. There's a mandate by the administration that 25% of all Medicaid and Social Security disability awards, if you will, people who get selected to get on it, must be able-bodied people. Now, what does that tell you? You're getting Social Security disability, you're getting Medicaid, and you are able-bodied. Well, that was what we thought these programs were for, right? Was for people who are injured and can't work, blind, or handicapped, losing a body part, and they can't function or work like a normal able-bodied person. So we have these out of good-natured, Americans that we are. We don't want people to suffer. So we're willing to give in more and more money to fund these programs so that people won't suffer, or get a break like the rest of us have. Well, guess what? It's not really for the injured or the blind or any of that. In fact, 90% of all cases of people who are injured or blind that apply for disability are turned down 90% of the time.
Wow.
For the first time. They have to go get one of those guys, that gets money to get you your Social Security. And so they have to apply and get people to fight for them. A lot of people just give up and don't even try. So they have a policy there virtually to disapprove everybody except people who are able-bodied and vote Democrat exclusively. They seem to have a much better chance. Now, is there a resolution paper or a rule somewhere about that? No. But you don't have to when you hire people who know what to do. And just like the IRS targeting conservatives, just like all these other programs that are out there targeting conservatives, white people, Christians, ex-military, these programs are designed to make sure that Democrat voters are rewarded in these bad times. And so what we're doing is we're insulating and protecting the Democrat voters from the results of their voting. If they had to go out into the economy and survive like the rest of us, then they may not vote Democrat, but we are protecting them from their stupidity by these kinds of programs.
Now, but there's a sense of emotional attachment along with a misgiving, and we're talking tonight with Dr. Michael Jones, better known as the Underground Professor. You are listening to New Day Black and Red. It is Saturday, 5 p.m. on WNJC 1360 AM out of the wonderful city of brotherly love, Philly, Pennsylvania. And you'll also be hearing us on Conservative Commandos Radio Network. There is an emotional attachment to the misgiving or the propaganda that you paid into Social Security. So shouldn't I get something? I paid into this thing. They owe me. Can you speak to that, sir?
Well, that's what we think, isn't it? And we do. They take money right out of our paycheck, so it's not hard to make the connection that you paid into it, you should get something out of it. But, you know what? Look down in Texas. I can't remember what city it was. Austin or, no, it wasn't Austin. San Antonio, something like that. One of these cities down in South Texas, there was a short period of time, I think it was in the 80s or the 70s, that they were given this option where they could opt out of Social Security, the entire city, for city employees, not rank and file people, but for government employees of the city, they could opt out of Social Security. And so the teachers and the government workers in the city they make, the last I heard, their retirements are 30 times more money each month than those on Social Security. And so, it's huge. It's like better than, like you're getting $300 Social Security, you get $3,000 from them. That's the kind of ratio that we're talking about. But yeah, you pay into Social Security. The problem is that they don't invest the money, and you don't get a return on it. So it's just whatever they say it is.
Mm-hmm.
That you get. Now here's the scary thing, Ken. There are people up there, professors and Democrat professors. I guess I'm being redundant, and and people in Congress on the Democrat side that have put plans forth. They've been nixed so far, but they keep trying. And like most progressives, they don't stop until they get what they want. Look at healthcare. They've been trying that since LBJ, trying to get universal health care. What they want to do is they want to take everybody's IRAs and
401ks,
stuff, and just suborn it to the government and say it's our money, it's the government's money, and then give you a what do you call those, IOUs?
Yeah,
those little sheets of paper and say IOU, and give you like 3% interest on it, and that's it. Well, right now 3% interest isn't too shabby, so they probably have to adjust that.
I want to ask you the whole concept, and then I want to speak to the biblical concept here. And I really enjoy sitting at your feet, spit-shotting your boots while you speak to me, sir.
Good thing I washed.
But this concept here that there is going to be something at the end of the road for you, doesn't that weaken the individual who should be planning ahead for their future and for their families and for the inheritances to come for the nation?
Yeah. Look, okay, everybody down. I'm going to have to murder you guys. Go. I got 4 of them in here right now.
And they're all...
I treat Social Security like this, that if it's even there when I retire, it's just a bonus. It will be my beer and pizza money for getting nachos or whatever to watch Cowboy games with. But it's just going to be fun money, not anything I count on for eating or shelter or anything like that. Take this fact. I did some polling data back when I was actively being a professor, and this is what my polling data showed, that more people in America, and I don't mean I just polled students, my students and I went and we did a scientific poll of the American citizens all across this country, in all 57 states, we polled them. And with a plus or minus a 3.5% accuracy rating, we determined that more people at 60%, plus or minus 3.5, believe in UFO contact than they do in the fact that they will see Social Security money when they retire. Wow. And we polled people at 30 years of age or younger. And so what does that tell you? When more people think that they're going to be abducted by aliens and they're going to get a Social Security check.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but in the inner cities, there are individuals, maybe I'm being stereotypical here, but I think I can afford to be. In the inner cities, people are told virtually, don't worry about it. You're still going to have Social Security when you retire. Enjoy your life. Have a great time. Aren't we teaching with this dependency on government to take care of our needs in the future? Aren't we teaching irresponsibility by accepting Social Security?
Well, that's what Roosevelt thought, was that Social Security would ensure Democrat control of Congress for 100 years, or 40 years, or whatever he said. I'm sure you can look that up. I can't remember exactly how many years he claimed, but they knew that getting Social Security would ensure Democrat control of government for a long, long time, because it would sucker people into thinking they were getting something for nothing, and that people were voting other people's money into their pocketbooks. And you know what Jefferson and others said, that as soon as we figure out that we can vote ourselves a pay raise, our government's doomed. Well, bingo. That's
exactly
where we are.
But isn't that ignorant, though? Because We can't even vote ourselves a pay raise on Social Security. They can't get a pay raise. And the congressmen can get pay raises because they have the power to vote.
Oh, yeah. And remind you that Congress has to vote a pay raise down, otherwise it's automatic. The thing here is, Ken, and of course we are on WNJC 1360 out of Philly, the city of brotherly love, except for when they're playing the Cowboys, evidently. But the concept here is, you know what, you think it's funny. They get Social Security and they're not even going to get raises out of it anymore, but they won't give it up. Look at the fear of about, what was it, about, I don't know, 10 years ago or something, or maybe it was 8 years ago when Obama was running, and we were talking about privatizing Social Security and making it solvent and making it worth more money to the people who get it, and then saying, look, if you're 50 or older, you're on this system. If you're younger, we're going to give you an option. And then those that aren't in the workforce yet, but when they do come into the workforce, then they'll be on the new system automatic. And that was so scary to those people who were guaranteed their Social Security would not be changed, that they would not allow any of that to happen. Look, you know, it is scary when our country has changed, Ken. It used to be that we didn't need Social Security, all right?
Yeah.
Because people arranged for their own retirements. But also, part of your retirement plan was the fact of this, that you were taking care of your parents because they were old, and you were raising your youths because they're young.
Yeah.
And then you get old, your parents die off, they get out of the way, you become the old farts, your kids take care of you while they're working and they're healthy, and then they have youths of their own, and then the cycle keeps going. And so here we have families that grew up, lived and died in the same home, and they took care of the generations. We don't have that now. We get away from our parents. We think you're a loser if you're still at home, and you know, face it. What do we think about all these progressives that are living in their mom's basements? Loser. And else for love. And so, you know, but we don't take care of our families. And then our whole mindset has changed where government has to take care of our families. When our parents get too old and we're not cleaning their diapers and changing them, we make government do that. And we stick them into these homes and we make government pay for it, or we do for private insurance if you're lucky. But and the same with our kids. We send them into places for other people to raise them, you know, daycares and stuff, so we can go out and get our minimum wage jobs that they're always talking about. Not. But the ideas have changed of how much you need to retire and what you need, because we don't take care of our own families and we don't take care of ourselves. Somehow it's government's responsibility to make sure we have enough money to retire, whether we work or not.
What a shame. What a
and
shame.
If you're on welfare, you don't need it because the government's taking care of you already.
Yeah.
And you'll just stay on that forever. Me, I have a great fear. I talked to a financial advisor the other day, and he said, "What is your number one concern?" And I said, "Living longer than I can afford to eat."
We are talking right now with the great one himself, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor. You're listening to us on WNJC 1360 AM, the station where we are building stockings for soldiers. And you can contact Stockings for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated, and send your lovely donations. 1911 Folk Road, Wilmington, Delaware, 19810. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to give a Christian answer to Social Security.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the Future Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here.
Rap music.
Commercial.
Commercial. Hey, that's stockings for
All we're making a process, we use fresh and better than sauces. Like that, cook good and slice it up. Our pizza is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh.
We have the exceptional conservative taking a break on this show right now.
This is our top chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the chocolate cherry. It is juicy chicken thighs. It is a big vegetable. Served with jasmine rice and pita bread.
Shows for New Day and Black and Red on WNJC
Now, we're going to
Saturday.
prepare our favorite relaxing tilapia chicken from the river.
What time is it? I don't know what time it is here. It is out, so that is roughly 5:44 in the evening.
Let me tell you about our infused beef burger. So we keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck pan patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers. We're going to put it to perfection. After I put the burgers, we add the sauce and let it cook on it until it looks a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger. Spice it up a bit.
That's right, order up, my friends. It is that time of the evening, that time that we all know so well. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you want a very good meal, and I mean, you know, I'm a very svelte individual. I don't eat very much, but when I do, commentary, when I do, I certainly go to Infuse, infuse.com. InfuseInfuse.com. Inspire, indulge, infuse. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland 20748 is the zip code. Infuse Restaurant. I am telling you, the food is sensational. The service is wonderful. Derek Williams is out there as the owner of Infuse Restaurant and Lounge. He's a wonderful human being, great man of God. And also,
When you say infuse,
Infuse, yeah.
Ken, when you say, do they like hook you up to a in vitro or something? You know, do they stick a wire in you and you start feeding you through a tube?
I wish they would with the barbecue sauce. I really do. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. InfuseInfuse.com. Go there, get your stuff catered for the holidays. Get a great meal. If you're visiting us from Philadelphia, you need to stop at Infuse Restaurant. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you some biblical concepts here. And I'm using Dr. David Tribe's Biblical View of Social Security numbers, and other welfare programs. Dr. Tribes is out of Fredericksburg, Texas, and I want to thank him for putting this Bible study up for people to use it. In case in point, the detail of the argument is built on the fact that God's plan to provide for the needs of people is thus: that individuals are to care for themselves, number one. Fathers are to care for their families, number two. Parents are to care for their children, number three. Children are to care for their elderly parents, number four. Extended families are to care for their own, number five. If someone has no family, and let's pay attention, church folk, if someone has no family, the church and individuals are to provide for their needs in various ways. For the poor, they are to be a help. Not the answer, but the help. And Christians are to help fellow believers especially. Those with crops are to make available tedious manual labor for the poor and the hungry. It was not the condition of God that men would sit back on their arses and be served wine and bread and be given a pittance for the day and be told that they are to be living in this particular squalor called comfortability. Your poverty is supposed to be a motivating factor for you to do what Deuteronomy 8:18 says, and that is to create wealth. The next thing is that people are capable of working, but are not supposed to be taken care of. I'm going to repeat that to you because that is biblical. People who are capable of working, but are not supposed to be taken care of. They are supposed to feel the consequences of their slothfulness, their laziness. They are supposed to feel and be motivated by hunger and deprivation. People say that a mother of necessity was, I forget the term. I forget the phrase. But the bottom line was, wherever there was a need, that was a necessity for you to create an action. First within the family, then without the family, but certainly within the confines of people working and laboring in order to receive compensation. The Social Security system, according to Dr. Tribes, is not only contrary to the biblical system, it also undercuts and undermines it, relieving individuals of their God-given responsibilities, thus harming individuals, families, and the entire social fabric of the nation. And speaking with Dr. Jones earlier, I questioned him regarding whether being dependent on the state to provide for your future needs sufficiently induces individuals to take risks. And it does not. What it does is give you a utopic feeling that somehow some man in a little room with bean counting his way through life has already prepared your destiny, and that you can relax and that you can take ease and not have to worry about that. You don't have to invest anymore. You don't have to start businesses. You don't have to create jobs. By golly, someone's already taking care of your need. So we become somewhat selfish and self-centered because our needs have been taken care of by the state. The unfortunate thing is that we find out that firstly, no man can count the entire monetary need that you have at the end of your life. Number two, a state will never be able to sufficiently satisfy whatever your need is. Because what is your need? Your need is to be able to provide for yourself and your family, and according to the scriptures, your children's children. So how does a state do that? It cannot. So when men promise you that they can adore you and adorn you with great wealth, they're lying to you. Let me take you to the scriptures. Paul, provided for himself. I know, this is a tough season, people out of work, but guess what? It's amazing how many help wanted signs I see. Acts 20, verse 34. Yea, ye yourselves know that these hands have ministered unto my necessities. I want you to go back to Acts 20:34 and underline my necessities. And what tools satisfied your necessities? Yes, God blesses you, and He pours out those blessings from open windows and open doors, but guess what? They have to be in your hands. And you have to use your hands to create the wealth necessary to provide for your needs. And so he goes on to say, and to them that were with me, I have shewed you all things, how that so laboring ye ought to support the weak, and to remember the words of the Lord Jesus, how he said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. Guess what? Wealth was created not necessarily to hoard, but actually to pass through. It is your ability to train your children up in the way that they should go and train those up around you in your business that they become stewards and not necessarily employees or inheritors. What they become is stewards of the wealth, passing it on and expanding and creating more wealth. It is the objective of you, the individual, no matter whether you're in a depression, a recession, or in the most profitable times, to continue to create and multiply. It is a God-given promise that if you multiply, He will provide for your needs. Now, if you go to 2 Thessalonians 3:12, 2 Thessalonians 3:12, which I think comes in quite handy when I see women outside the churches on walkie-talkies and cell phones, coordinating how they can pick up 4 or 5 turkeys from 4 or 5 different churches. I want you to understand 2 Thessalonians 3:12. It says, "Now them that are such we command and exhort by our Lord Jesus Christ, that with quietness they work and eat their own bread." Listen, we all go through tough times. But in due diligence, you should be able to create out of your wealth enough to take care of your needs and the needs of your children. In fact, taking care of your needs and the needs of your children was probably one of the greatest barriers without a need for state-induced child or family planning. And also, fathers, and I'll leave on these particular notes regarding fathers and parents. Fathers are to provide for their families. For the women that walk around and say these words, "I can do bad by myself, I don't need no man." Yes, that's true. You don't. But guess what? It is the father's role to provide for his family, even if it is a minimum wage job. You see, that the sight of a man coming through those doors, a good godly man coming through those doors and providing for the needs of the family, however to the extent that he can, sets the tone for the rest of the family, where they are not missing a beat, where they're not laboring in vain. But if any provide not for his own, this is 1 Timothy 5:8. If any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith, and is worse than an infidel. Ladies and gentlemen, it was not Islam that created the term infidel. It was taken and written in 1 Timothy. It was used to infuriate individuals who believed that slothfulness was great gain. You cannot love and trust God if you lay on your backside and wait for someone to do something for you that you can do for yourself. So in closing, I'm going to say this to those who have a dependency on Social Security. Get a job, start a business, take care of your kids, teach them to be good stewards, and prosper yourselves and this great nation. In doing so, you will eradicate the dependency on Social Security. Where did I go wrong, Professor?
I like it.
Ah!
This is why I say that those people on welfare that are on there and don't absolutely have to have it are probably not going to see heaven's gates.
Wow. True that.
I believe that it's theft. You know, it violates several of the 10 Commandments, and I don't know how you get around that.
Exactly. And it's difficult. I don't understand how. I can see where pastors are so compassionate and so just gratifying to have someone actually sit in their pulpit. I mean, sit in their pew. But the expression that somehow they are to turn away from the church for their provision to the state for their provision. Somehow you set people up to be abused by the state. There are so many women that I speak with on a daily basis who have come out of poverty and come out of that welfare system. For those of you following on home and say that people are eternally poor, that's a lie for the pit of hell. And they talk about how they were so afraid of their social worker. Their social worker became God in their life. And it was amazing to hear.
Now, you can't upset them, can you? Or you'll be cut off from your benefits and stuff. And they're so afraid of getting cut off from benefits than they are of going out and getting a job. I just can't imagine how you get your life like that, but they do. Lots of people do.
Exactly. For those of you who are following our home, I'm going to give you some scriptures that I want you to take a look at since we're entering the season of manipulating the wealthy to exchange their wealth and grace to the poor. And not that come on, people, I'm not against giving. not against giving. I believe giving should be done in wisdom, and you should ask for it liberally. God will give you wisdom on your giving.
It should be voluntary, too.
Yeah, it should be. They should not lock the doors at the back of the church and then ask for money. That's a shakedown. That's not giving.
Well, not just that, but, the government does this, too, from us, right?
Yeah.
They take from us, and then they become the charity instead of you and I doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
James 1:27, pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction and to keep himself unspotted from the world. So focus on becoming unspotted and you'll take care of all the rest. Deuteronomy 15:11, for the poor shall never cease out of the land. You will never solve the poverty question, is what God's saying. Therefore, I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thy hand wide unto thy brother, to the poor, and to the needy in thy land. Notice who he was talking to. Not the government. He was talking to you. All right, and take a look at Proverbs 21:13, Proverbs 22:9, and Proverbs 28:27. Proverbs 28:27, I'll leave you with. He said, he that giveth unto the poor shall not lack, but he that hideth his eyes shall have many a curse. So your job is not to hide from the poor, but to give them what they need. They don't need a welfare check. They need a job. That's where dignity comes from in this world. You have been listening to New Day Black and Red on 1360 AM, the Superstation in Philly, home of the Conservative Commandos and the most lovable, affable, benevolent dictator in all the world, Rick Trader. On behalf of the great one himself, Dr. Michael Jones, wave to the people, sir.
I'm awake.
I'm your host, Ken McClinton, and we're thanking you so much live from Washington, D.C., the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from Texas, the Underground Professor. We wish you the very best of weekends. We hope that you have a very, very great weekend, and we look forward to your return to New Day Black and Red next weekend. God bless you, and take care.
And live free and brave and live the life of a coward.
There you go. Don't live the life of a coward. Be brave. Be very brave. Thank you, sir.
Amen.
God bless you. All right.
And Viacom cables.
Oh,
Go with the toodles.
got it. Oh, ladies and gentlemen who have tuned in to listen to the best urban conservative talk show in the world, and I'm not just saying that myself, I actually wrote it down. I want you to do me a great favor. Stockings for Soldiers. Stockings for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated, founded to help improve the morale and welfare of members of the armed forces of the United States of America deployed in harm's way. They put together stockings of necessary things and other items for the troops that are special. And for many troops, it's the only gift they're going to get for Christmas. Truly. And so, yeah. And so, for the good people who are listening to the Underground Professor Show, and for those who are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show and joining in and listening to New Day Black and Red being taped for the weekend, listen, Stockings for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated, 1911 Folk Road, F-O-U-L-K Road, and road is spelled R-D. No, it's really not, but
you folks, just Folk Road, not you folk road.
You folk, you people. 1911 Folk Road, Wilmington, Delaware, 19810. The Stockings for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated. Please make a gift available. Professor, we're moving on to the second half of the Exceptional Conservative Show, live for the nation's capital. Janice will be on with us. Janice Hall, the J Hall World Report. And yeah, Inchia Babe. Now, I'm going to play a quick clip, and then we're going to come back with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we're going to talk with Janice Hall. How about that? All right.
I'm going to bed.
Go to bed, sir.
I'm dreaming you.
that, Mrs. Biggs?
Chops.
Mrs. Biggs is jealous.
I've been drinking you eat pork chops. That's having a Jurassic Park kind of dream, you know?
Listen, I've lost a lot of weight. I put down the spoon. So.
Yeah. You weigh yourself without the spoon in your hand now, huh?
God bless you, sir. The underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones.
Good night, everybody. And for those listeners on the Excessive Skirmish Show, you may not know that Ken is actually is a winner of the Guinness's World Book of Records. His shadow weighed 42 pounds. After eating in Dallas, Texas.
Darn skippy. I want you to know, it took a lot more gasoline for the airplane to take off. Just want to let you know that.
Carbon footprint, not footprint. All right. Good night,
Good night. God bless.
We'll see you later.
All right. That's the underground professor, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. To pledge allegiance. That's what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world. Listened to by at least one or two people every single night. Except for the Conservative Show. Live from the nation capital. We're not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and then the Democrat. Coming up now as we begin our coverage of world events, and this is where we truly love having our great guests for the evening. None other than the beautiful and the brilliant Janice Hall, the J. Hall World Report. Before we go to her, we want to make you aware that decisions have been made regarding Social Security in America, and that apparently there will not be a increase, and I know for many people that can be quite a challenge. And I just want you to know that I believe that God will provide. With all of my heart, with all of my soul, I believe that God will provide. And I know that these are very tough times, so I'm going to encourage you to stand with those who can help provide for your assistance and for your need. Your family. Okay, some people may be able to turn to their families for help in these days and in these hours. I would encourage family members to step up to the plate now. You know your family, you know your elders in the family who need help.
There are no shipments.
No, that's the wrong number. I was not calling that number. It's amazing. I'm trying to call. There we go. We're going to get this right. You know, and stop. For some odd reason, I just can't seem to get this number down. Okay. Going to try this one more time. I'm going to try to delete this number here. And there you go. This is really, really amazing. I tell you. Only when you're trying to do something here, okay? And we are trying to call a certain number, okay? And that certain number leads to a certain person who's waiting to talk with us. And, wow, there we go, okay. There we go. Janice Hall, J. Hall.
Love Talk Radio. There are no shows scheduled within the next month.
How can this be? You just gotta love this. You just gotta love. There we go. We're gonna quit Skype. Yes, we want to quit you because you're no good. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, if you really want to enjoy the fruits of my labor, just tune in and watch how human I really am. I tell you, it doesn't get more human than this particular show. And we just finished talking with the great Dr. Michael Jones. And I am told now that that this is working. Okay, so I will count on it working, or else I will say other things about the organization. Here we go. We're trying to call the... There we go. All right. There we go, people. There we go. Janice Hall, the J. Hall World Report. Trying to get her right now.
Hello.
Good day, Janice. It is a pleasure talking with you tonight.
It's a pleasure to talk to you tonight, too.
Thank you so much, and finally got the call out to you. Listen, this week has been a very hectic week regarding foreign powers, one of which happens to be the United States. We didn't know that we had such a great commander-in-chief when it came to the Chinese islands. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, there's been a lot of moving and shaking happening recently today or not today, but this week, with the U.S. military. And yeah, in regards to China, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but the U.S. was planning on sending, some military vessels, basically past the fake islands that China had built as one can basically only say as a, show of force, that the U.S. essentially does not recognize that, China should have ownership, of the waters surrounding their built-up islands.
Yep.
So that happened, and predictably, the Chinese were not happy, and they, had a whole lot of bluster, and saying, "Oh, the U.S. is invading our territory that we have, and that's just not acceptable," and all of that nonsense. We all knew it was going to happen. I mean, if the U.S. had gone by these things before China had actually built anything there, China, couldn't have said anything. But now, they sort of have a reason to say something.
Exactly.
Because they have their fake islands.
Exactly.
So, this is what happens when you wait forever to do something. Then it's almost too late.
Well, isn't that the commander-in-chief's onus at this particular moment? At least I'm being cynical, but it's something I believe. At the last minute you do this, then you back off and say, well, you know what? It is their land. It's their island. They do have international rights. There's nothing we can do about it. We tried our best. Is that the gambit that Obama's doing right now?
It probably very likely is. Currently, the U.S. is not saying that, but I could definitely see that happening.
The thing about this is that a lot of attention, and we're going to talk about it in just a few moments, a lot of attention is on the Middle East. But this might be the opening salvo for future military intervention. I think more quickly than Syria, this might be the place where that could happen, because you have South Korea, although they will be meeting this week, South Korea, China, and Japan, to talk about affairs in that particular region. It reminds me of a tea in which you promise things, but when you go back to your humble abode, you forget everything that you promised. And I really believe that.
No, it's definitely possible. We are basically at the point with China over the South China Sea that both the U.S. and China have basically dug themselves into a hole, and China can't back out now. It built its islands. It's claiming its islands. It's claiming the waters around these islands that it built, and it's not. The time for China to back off is not now, and they very likely won't. Which means that leaves the U.S. to either accept that China has control of this territory, or will have to be, much, much more firm in how it deals, with the situation.
Exactly. It would be more along the lines of us not just passing by the islands, but us actually basically stationing ourselves off the shores of those particular islands,
Right.
which would create a international disturbance. And wouldn't China refer to what has been done in the Middle East with island creation that other nations have made right to creating island spaces? And why can't they?
I mean, I think China definitely is trying to use that logic of I have created this island, it is my island, and thus all the waters around it are mine too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's some definite problems with this logic. You know, it means that anybody can pretty much anywhere, you know, build whatever they want, and there you go, it's theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to some degree, I mean, in some places, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But in the South China Sea, it does. It's rich, and several countries want access, you know, to those waters. And for China to unilaterally say that these are mine, it's going to cause problems.
Oh yeah. I would like to be a fly on the wall when they meet later on this week. Japan, South Korea, and China. We talk with Janice Hall, the J Hall World Report, the most exciting part of the show over the 4 days that we do our show. I really love this particular portion of the evening. Want to talk with you about Obama, Commander-in-Chief, and the movement of U.S. troops. What is going on? Wasn't this a guy who said no boots on the ground? What is he
No
doing?
boots on the ground. So, also, in addition to what's going on in the South China Sea, Obama is looking at different options of how to deal with Syria. Syria has been a disaster now for several years. Russia is finally getting involved. Iran's been involved. And I think now the U.S., finally realizing that nothing is going to happen, a fact I believe that we realized on the show several years ago, without some sort of outside intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So Obama is now looking at ways to essentially try and help break that stalemate that's going on. Now, generally speaking, he would like to have more of a presence there, including troops. Now, not necessarily, doing any sort of active combat role in Syria, but, stationing them closer and just being, there and available if needed.
Well, isn't that provocative, knowing that Russia has begun firing into Syria, has made some misses into Iran and Iraq recently?
It is provocative, and especially, so one of the things that they said they didn't want to do was, that Obama has dismissed as a no-fly zone. Well, I would generally probably, agree with that. And the reason the reason I personally disagree with that is because, then you get into the situation of actually being in conflict with Russian planes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which I don't think anybody really wants to do. But, basically, right now, we have, Syria is turning into somewhat of a proxy war between, the U.S. and Russia. And, I'll be honest with you, I don't think anybody really wants that. The U.S. and Russia don't really need to be fighting over what's going on in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
What we should be doing is working together to deal with situations like ISIS.
Yes. And the radical Muslims who have invaded southern Russia along the boundaries with India and Afghanistan and Iran. That makes sense. But here, and you and I would agree on this one, the provocation comes at a very difficult time, knowing full well that you are fighting this proxy war. No one's confused that this is really a battle between the U.S. and Russia. And if you check off, we have better Marines, we have a better Navy, we have a better Army, we have a better Air Force. But there are some problems when we come to the idea of nuclear strategy. We both could cancel out each other by the end of a day and the rest of the world if we wanted to. Isn't this one of the major concerns, or should be, for those who are in Congress, that the actions of the president might be considered provocative? Not that we fear Russia, but we fear what could happen if both sides decide that, we're not going to take it from each other anymore.
Yes. Well, I think that, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that really this situation is also, like so many more, at least the situation with Russia is partially a failure of diplomacy.
Yeah.
And, we're not at the stage with Russia where we need military action or that we need, any type of show of force. We can have a dialogue, and I think we should, but, Obama hasn't been open to that. And I will say to some degree, partially Putin is to blame as well, in that, he is has a lot of pride and does not want to, do anything that might portray Russia as being weak. However, we're now in this situation because of this, that, we have, this country, Syria, that is basically in a civil war, and we're almost fighting each other for no good reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Why don't we just step back? I would consider blockading at Turkey so that the civil unrest within Turkey doesn't get adjoined by the proliferation of immigrants crossing the border. They don't need any more radicalism in Turkey. But blockading off, and hey, let them go at it. Go for it. Whatever you do. And when you finish, whoever's left standing wins. I don't know why that's so bad. Want to talk with you tonight. We're talking with Janice Hall, J Hall World Report. There's almost always so much more world news than we can get to, and we try to get to it very quickly so that, well, pridefully, that we will be the first ones to talk about it, but often we're 4 or 5 weeks ahead of everybody else. So want to make mention to that. Iran.
Yes.
Invited to talk.
Syria.
Oh. Why are they invited to talk to anybody, and certainly about Syria?
Well, practically speaking, it's not actually, out of the realm of possibility for Iran to be involved with any talks that go on with Syria. And partially because Iran does have a very, they're continue to support the government there. They've had a very active role. And And, just as a matter of practicality, if you were hashing out anything, they probably should be there. However...
Yep. I love the howevers.
However, I think currently, based on what I just said about everything else in regards to Syria, I think the people that need to be talking about this right now are the U.S. and Russia, not Iran and everybody else.
Is this one of the benefits of winning the negotiations with the U.S.? Do they get to be the military power and might of the Middle East now? Has Persia come back to power?
They get to have legitimacy, and one of the perks of having legitimacy is that you get to attend talks and you get to, put in your 2 cents and perhaps, create policy for other regions.
I want to go quickly to another story because Iran sucks. They shouldn't be talking to anybody. But are you giving up bacon? Because
Am I giving up bacon?
Yeah, because the World Health Organization says bacon causes cancer. Not pork, but bacon.
Specifically bacon. Everything causes cancer, and I really like bacon.
There you go. I agree wholeheartedly with you, but talking about the UN, what's going on right now with the UN and the U.S. On Cuba?
All right, so as much as you like to bash Obama, I like to bash the UN. So, in Janice's UN bashing point tonight, we have that the UN has voted on, basically on their resolution, that condemning the U.S. trade embargo of Cuba for its 24th consecutive year. And you'll love this. The voting was 193 for and 2 against. And the 2 against were the U.S. and Israel. And
Wow.
the Cubans had the wonderful audacity to claim that the U.S. should have voted for it.
Wow. I'm just amazed as we come to the close here, and I'm just so glad to talk with you on Tuesday nights. Jay Hall World Report, Janice Hall with us, our foreign policy guru. Isn't that ironic that Israel stood with us?
It is just a little bit, yeah.
Oh, we love you, Israel. Janice, we love you too, and we love you coming on Tuesday nights. The Jay Hall World Report, live from the nation's capital. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There we go. I'm telling you, I really enjoy Tuesday nights. People just don't know how much. I say it all the time. But that young woman, how great she's grown in the field, and very proud of her. Very proud of her. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk with you about production concerns in urban America. You heard me, without wincing, my commentary regarding Social Security and the biblical flaw that we have as the ointment that we have poured down our head upon our beard, the dependency on the state to provide for our retirement and health needs, when it's we the individuals, that we the people that should be doing that for ourselves outside of the state. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk with you about why production is one of the major problems in urban America, and why production is the tool by which, and I'm not talking just manufacturing, might be the tool of how we move out of the morass of the economic plight of so many in urban America and create an economic boon. Listen, people, in order to create jobs, you got to have businesses. In order to have businesses, you got to have people willing to take risk. You can't take risk if you're waiting for government to do it for you. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. I'm your host, Kevin McClinton. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the Raven Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare So we're making a pizza. We use French or Italian and sausage like that. Cook here and slice it up. Our pizza crust is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and original. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs with maybe some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now, we're going to prepare our favorite tilapia, our fish and grits on the menu. Of our meals and complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burger. So we keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA round chuck hand breaded burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burgers, we add the sauce and let it cook on it until it gets a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
That's right, Pete. That's what I'm talking about. Order up, order up. Get yours today. My wife loves the black bean veggie sandwich or something. Y'all know what I like. I want my burger. I want it good. I want it big. And yes, they do a great job. Inspire, indulge, but certainly infuse. Infuse Restaurant. You will find it at 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland 20748. You can call them 301-449-9000. Do it today so you can go ahead and cater your office parties. Parties. Okay? Infuse.com. Go there. Take your wife out. Listen. All right, brothers, between you and me, what you do is you tell Derek Williams, the owner of Infuse, make you an exceptional meal. All right? You go pick it up while your wife is running her errands. You come back home. You put all that fine food on the dining room table, on a good tablecloth, a real nice one. You put all that food, you just lay out all that good food, black-eyed bean, all that, the chicken, whatever you just order, the huge burger for yourself or whatever. But I don't know how you do it. The barbecue, the barbecue is sumptuous. You just lay it all out on the table, and then you turn down the lights real low, and you start talking to her in that voice that made her want to marry you in the first place. When she gets through that door and she smells all that good food, Oh man, with all that coming up in her nostrils. There it is, baby. There it is. Men, y'all, you do too much. You work too hard at this game. All right? What your woman wants is for you to open up that door and for her to look in that dining room and that food's on that table. And that means that she doesn't have to do anything. And then you massage her feet, you relax her, you give her a bubble bath or whatever. You make sure her robe is super warm so that when she gets out of the bathroom, she can just put that warm robe on her. Say, that's what a woman wants, man. Just do that. Just do that. Okay? And make sure that you get your food from Infused Restaurant when you do that. I'm telling you, ain't nothing like it. Ain't nothing like it in all the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been talking about FDR and his speech, his plan, and we stopped last night. And the reason why we ran out of time, but the reason why I wanted to go over it is because he made changes to his speech. You can see the changes that he made to his speech. And his war on the U.S. Constitution, it was a declaration of war against the U.S. Constitution. There are those today who are declaring war again against the declaration of our Constitution. They are sincere in their intent to tear down the fabric by which this country was made. And do not be, don't be so vainly ignorant that you do not understand that it was capitalism or business that investment that created this nation. It was Christianity that created this nation. It was conservatism that created this nation, and it was constitutionalism that created this nation. Those four things working together, fused at one time, the philosophies, the thoughts, the business, all of that fused, and it was the big bang of liberty. That all four of those principles come together in one place at one time in history. Never before has it happened. And FDR, in a speech, deigns himself dictator, or at least the general, the commander-in-chief of war against the U.S. Constitution. On page 19 of his speech, he begins with the first paragraph that says, "We have come to a clear realization of the fact, however, that true individual freedom cannot exist without economic security and independence. Necessitous men are not free men. Necessitous men are not free men." What he's saying is that your condition belies your freedom. Simply put, that if you have a need that has not been satisfied by God, then you're not free. And only the state can satisfy what God cannot. And in fact, we will do it so much better that you will no longer have a dependency on God. We will become your God. How did you read all that into that one line? Well, understand what necessitous men means. Necessitous simply means that men have needs that they cannot satisfy themselves. And in fact, let's get into the etymology there. I know, Sackheads Radio, they be joning on me because I use the etymology and the dictionary and everything. But, I do it for a reason. because I want you to understand the things that were meant when they were said. Okay. Put that right on in there. Yeah, there we go. Bing. Okay, you're gonna cut that one. All right, and let me try this just once more in terms of definition. They define. Put that right on in there. That little word there, necessitous. Lacking the necessities of life. Needy. Lacking the necessities of life. Wow. Okay. When you begin to look at this word and you go back to its origins and you look at the term necessity, the origin of necessity, Latin necessitas, equivalent to nassus, needful. Whatever you are needful of, the state will provide for you. That's what he's saying to you. It is a promise that will never be kept, but a promise that insulates individuals in power, corrupts them to maintain their authority, disenfranchising you and oppressing you at the same time, and you love it. You desire it. The Second Bill of Rights, under which a new basis of security and prosperity can be established for all, regardless of station, race, or creed. Apparently, all three of those have an impact on your needs being met. What he's saying is that God, your creator, won't meet your need because of your station in life. Maybe you weren't born to the right people. Won't be because of your race. Maybe you weren't born the right color. Maybe it's your creed. Maybe somehow you don't have an understanding or you're not one of the team. You're not part of the group. And so, when you look at all of that, you wonder what a man of this proclivity is thinking as he rolls this out. Does he know that he will weaken America? Does he know that he will produce a cadre of descendants who become wiser yet weaker, because they become more dependent on the state and less dependent on themselves, that they become more inundated with the utopia promise than they are in terms of seeking their own wealth. He writes, among these are the right to a useful and remunerative job in the industries, or shops, or farms, or mines of the nation. What was Obama attacking when he talked about energy? He was talking about the mines. You see, since Mellon and Ford and other Carnegie and other great leaders of the Industrial Revolution, the socialists have been out to liberate the industries, to liberate the shops, the farms and the mines. Notice how all of those are union pursuits. And somehow that you are guaranteed that job. Every American. How about the right to earn enough to provide adequate food and clothing and recreation? The right of every farmer to raise and sell his products at a return which will give him and his family a decent living. Who is the guarantor of that decent living? Well, it would have to be the state. Page 20 of his speech. The right of every businessman, large and small. And be careful, listen to this. Listen very closely to this and tell me if the trade agreement with the Pacific Trade Agreement isn't similar to what FDR is talking about here. The right of every businessman, large and small, to trade in an atmosphere of freedom from unfair competition and domination by monopolies at home or abroad. Here's the next right. The right of every family to a decent home. Well, how do we define decent? Well, in our terms, decent would be defined today as affordable. You know, because let's just take a look. Yeah, here we go again. Ken's going to the etymology thing. There you go. He's always hitting up on the etymology thing, man. I'm telling you. That's why I listen to this show, because I learned so much about English. Take a look at what decent means. And tell me if anyone can get this for you. Proper to one's station or rank. Wait a minute. Wasn't the Second Bill of Rights designed so that we wouldn't have to worry about race or creed or station? But that's exactly what it means. Proper to one's station or rank. So a decent house for you, guaranteed by the government, certainly would never meet the standard of an FDR. But you can't have an FDR type of house because that's not in your station in life. You can only have what we're willing to give you, a little plexiglass 2-bedroom that you can fit your 14 kids. When we look at the term in the Latin, decentim, it means becoming, seemly, fitting, proper, fitting. It just ain't fitting. It just ain't. It just ain't fitting. What's fitting for you? Can the government define for you what is fitting? Now, I want to give you another term. Since we used the term decent and that didn't sound too right, let's do this. Let's look up the term affordable. Affordable. Let's take a look. Able, okay, able just simply means ability. It really is what it means. It means capacity, ability, fitness. Okay, that's what it means, ability. So, ability to afford, meaning to put forth, contribute, further, advance, carry out, accomplish. So, affordable means the same thing that decent does. For your station, for your rank, versus for what you can advance or contribute to. That's affordable housing. When we say terms like this, they are politically correct terms, but what they mean is that you are continually dependent on the source of government to maintain your station of life, your condition. You're not coming out of that condition. You're going to maintain it. And it is our job to comfort you in your maintenance. And what we have done is create a generation of people who have gotten used, acclimated to someone providing for their need as they trade out their risk. And so what insulates an individual from taking a risk? Well, you hear it every single day. Man, I would leave this job, but it's got good benefits. They've insulated you. You may not be the most productive worker as a result of your desire to leave, but nevertheless, they don't have to worry about you leaving. Because they know that you're not willing to take a risk on finding something better than what you got. Because you believe that that thing that you have is the only thing that you ever will have. And if you believe it's the only thing that you ever will have, then what you will do is put demands against that particular thing and say that I want more of the benefits. I don't care what the other guy gets. I want more of the benefits. So what are some of the things that would insulate an individual in their plight in condition? Well, health would be number one. If you take care of my health, I'm going to be all right. Well, guess what the next right is? FDR writes, the right to adequate medical care and the opportunity to achieve and enjoy good health. Now, yes, we're going to go back to the board. Let's take a look at what we call adequate. Okay. Adequate simply means equalized, to make equal to make level. Okay? Equal to what is required is the sense of the word itself. Equal to what is required. Adequatus is the Latin term that's used here. Equal to what is required. Meaning, when someone says we're going to give you universal health care, they really mean we're going to give you the health care that is required. When you go to the doctor, you might know that your hospital in Upper East Side is not like your hospital in the Lower East Side. But the hospital in the Lower East Side is adequate to take care of your needs. Now, the one over in the Upper East Side might be able to give you a certain prescription, a certain type of care, extra x-rays, things of that nature, while the one on the Lower East Side may just give you what you need to get up out of the camp. A couple prescriptions, a Band-Aid, and you're gone. It was adequate for what was required. It was equal to what was required. We did just enough. That's what universal health care does. It puts you into the mindset that you will stay in your condition simply because you're getting just enough to get by. Let's go on back real quick. The right to adequate protection from the economic fears of old age, sickness, accident, and unemployment. Adequate. Equal to what is required. You know, in the Bible, when you look at the type of mindset that you have to follow Jesus, Jesus says that you have to renew your mind daily. And that the reasonable service is to live your life in sacrifice to God. That's your reasonable service. It is different when someone tells you what is required from what is a reasonable service. The right to adequate protection from the economic fears of old age. That's the presentation of Social Security, of sickness. That's the presentation of universal health care. Of accident. That's what employee compensation is for. Workers' compensation is for. And unemployment. That's supposed to be unemployment insurance. All those are government interventions. They're supposed to take away the fear. But what they do is heighten the anxiety because the provision is only for what is required to get you to what you need. Barely to what you need. It's not really adequate. But it is promised. It is far better for you to build your own wealth in the hands of God than to be sufficiently satisfied with the adequacy that comes with government. The right to a good education. What exactly is a good education? God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. That's what they tell me. But what exactly is a good... Why is God not in your education if God is good? The promise is the right to a good education. Is your child being taught to the level of what is needed or required? Or is his stuff or her stuff adequate? FDR goes on to say all these rights spell security, and after this war is won, we must be prepared to move forward in the implementation of these rights to new goals of human happiness and well-being. Nothing like a crisis to open up opportunity. He ends this by saying America's own rightful place in the world depends in large part upon how fully these and similar rights have been carried into practice for our citizens. For unless there is security here at home, there cannot be lasting peace in the world. You've had Social Security for over 60 years. How's the peace? Ladies and gentlemen, a man once told me to live bravely and never die a coward. I promise you I'm going to do that. I want to thank you so much for listening to the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world, the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from Washington, D.C. God bless America. Now it's time for America to bless God.